Story 1. My ex-best friend told me he would eventually abandon me because he is scared he will be the one who gets abandoned. And well, he did just as he said. Story 2. Words and actions not matching. I am the only one who initiates contact. The person benefits from my love and care but never checks in on me or reaches out first. The person chooses what is comfortable for them despite knowing it would hurt me. Silence followed after I pointed out their hurtful actions. Evasive silence and selective responses. They ghosted me after I bared my soul to them. I have always felt like an outsider, as if there is no place for me. I do not know why I was hoping for something to change or trying so hard. Story 3. Abusive tendencies. An old situationship told me that he would not allow me to have male friends if we were in a relationship, even after I told him multiple times we would never become serious because I do not want a relationship. He was even suspicious of my gay male friend when I said I was hanging out with him and a few other female friends. He would also send me photos and videos of his ex, saying how much he misses her and how he hopes she comes back to him, on top of showing me Snapchat memories of her before and after we had hooked up. He had a long list of red flags, including manipulative behavior and persistence on things I told him I was not comfortable with, but I kept him around for months because he was very attractive. Story 4. Her lack of forethought about the consequences of her actions and how it was never her fault. Story 5. She used drugs. I mistakenly thought it was just a silly habit she would eventually quit, but I was wrong. Story 6. Extreme insecurity to the point of not allowing me any alone time because they were afraid of being without me. Story 7. People pleasers are hard to identify sometimes, but they are the #1 type of people I want nothing to do with. They end up being passive-aggressive and are not willing to share their own opinions, so you can never understand what they actually want. Then you make decisions for them and they seem upset or bothered. Story 8. Excessive praise and love bombing. My coworker and friend was very complimentary shortly after meeting me. "You're so smart. You have such great style. You were just so great." Non-stop. After I was laid off, we loosely hung out some, and then she abruptly and strangely stopped all contact, not even liking my social media posts, which made her obsession with me seem strange since she went from full attention to none so quickly. It was not a natural drifting but a hard stop with no contact in between to explain it. I later learned from mutual acquaintances that she was a huge narcissist and highly manipulative. Knowing what I do now, I escaped a very toxic situation by being laid off and no longer useful to her narcissism, as she is actually very unstable. Apparently, she regularly idealized and devalued people very quickly. Shallow friendships with others and saying, "I love you," too soon. My friend, who I am still friends with but only on a more surface level, frequently uses the phrases, "I love you," and "best friend." Everyone is her best friend, but the relationships are emotionally shallow and centered around activities. I realized this and we are fine, but there was some pain in understanding she will not provide much emotional depth in the friendship. Story 9. Saying that she never texted people first. Harshly critiquing the physical appearance of others. Held a very high view of herself. Unsurprisingly, she also had no close friends. She was simultaneously avoidant and egotistical. I will counteract with my own red flag. Rushing into a relationship. I get too excited when I start a new relationship and can become pushy. Some people might view it as love bombing, but I am not trying to manipulate anyone. I just get genuinely too excited and am also scared of losing the relationship. This probably stems from my years of loneliness. It is something I am working on. Story 10. Having no real friends. Even if friendships ended because someone did not nurture them or for other benign reasons, it says a lot about a person if they do not have valued connections with others. You are not suddenly going to be the one person they connect with in a healthy way. Story 11. When the man was unhappy with what I was saying, he sometimes wandered behind my chair without any clear purpose. One day he grabbed my head from behind and attempted to break my neck. I lost consciousness but later recovered. To clarify the background, 2 individuals with Doctor of Philosophy degrees, one holding a postdoctoral position at the University of Toronto, believed I was arrogant. They conspired to kill me after I mentioned I graduated from the best school in my country. I was trying to explain something about nuclear physics. This is a true story. Story 12. My soon-to-be ex-wife made me choose between her and my friends, family, and then my career. I do not know why, but my career was the last straw. I should have ended it when it was about my friends. Story 13. Fear of abandonment and hyper-close friendships. I had a friend with borderline personality disorder where two of us in the group finished graduate school and were moving to a slightly larger city nearby. She decided to move there too. At first, I thought it was a fun, let's be young and live in the city together thing, but it was really a fear of abandonment and forming a favorite person relationship, which is classic with borderline personality disorder. She also guilted me for moving post-graduation to another city and tried to convince me to change my plans. At the time, I thought we were really close and didn't understand that our close friendship was a borderline personality disorder and pandemic thing and not healthy. Story 14. Mental disorders. I know I sound harsh for saying that, but it's true. Before I got with my ex, he said that he had depression. I overlooked it and thought that I could help him. It started small, him being down at times, but I was able to uplift him. Then it slowly got worse. One night, we stayed on a call until 3 a.m., planning for something the next day. When I woke up, I found out that he was in a mental hospital for attempting to harm himself. I stayed with him, obviously, but it didn't get better. I found him stashing pills in case he ever wanted to try again. Not only that, he was insecure. He traveled all the way across the country last summer, and I was concerned for his well-being. But I traveled 5 hours away for a few days for a robotics competition where I was never alone, never had time to myself, constantly with my team. Did he think I would find someone else and leave him, or that I was going to cheat on him? The people in the robotics competition know that during away competitions, you are never alone. Then he started not trying in the relationship, not texting first, only saying goodnight, shorter calls, all of that. But I was scared to leave him. He said a few months into our relationship that if I left him, he would kill himself, that he couldn't live without me. After almost a year and a half, I broke up with him. That was 2 months ago, and now I am thriving as a single woman. Story 15. I ran into a girl who overheard me talking about my then boyfriend. She told me they had dated and that he was unpleasant. Turns out he was indeed unpleasant. Story 16. My ex told her 2-year-old daughter that I was going to burn in hell for being an atheist. I was with her for another 4 months after that. Story 17. When someone is being dishonest, that is a red flag. I am amazed at how many people lie and think nothing of it. They then believe their own lies. Honesty is important in any relationship, even just friendship. Story 18. Energy levels in a person vary. Having low energy occasionally for a short term is acceptable, but long-term low energy is not sustainable. Matching energy levels is equally important, at least for me. I am too devoid of energy to elaborate now. Story 19. My ex would get very drunk and not even be able to walk. I should have run the first time I saw that. Story 20. Very difficult to be intimate with very early on in the relationship. The sex was also non-existent if it was not planned by her. The excuses piled up one by one over the years. I am too tired. I'm more interested in the mornings. I'm mostly just interested when I am ovulating. I don't pick up on the signs when you express interest. I have a low sex drive. The most recent one was, I think I am asexual. I used to laugh when she would say, if we have kids, during a conversation. My response to her would always be, you know we have to have sex to have kids, right? I knew how to please this woman, but it did not make a bit of difference. She now rests in the archives of my memories, which is where she will stay forever. Honorable mentions because there were many red flags I ignored, constantly late for everything by hours, not minutes. Started to drive me nuts. No close friends or family members. Home always an absolute mess and car always looked like she lived in it. Farted openly from day one and also burped all the time. Loved to eat and gained over 30 pounds since we began to date. Her mother is over 300 pounds for context. Story 21. When he told me he was a person who struggled with trust, and someday I would realize it and be left brokenhearted. He was right. Story 22. When I was in high school and got my first real girlfriend, I remember her literally admitting to texting and hanging out with her ex-boyfriends while dating me. I thought it was a completely normal thing. I also thought it was totally normal that these guys would openly admit to still wanting to sleep with her, and she never rejected the idea. Being a teenager is weird. You live and you learn. Story 23. She had a dirty house, even with a housekeeper. There was unlimited dirty laundry, which I even did for her when she was out of town. Her car was dirty, and her breath was questionable at times. Did she brush her teeth in the shower? But I really miss her. Story 24. She told me how she threatened her ex-boyfriend and was on felony probation for it. Yet I was drunk enough to stay. Story 25. Small, inconsequential lies or stories that were too convoluted to make sense. Turns out this friend lied about literally everything, including their name and race. Story 26. She made innocent jokes about marriage both the first time she met my father and the first time she met my grandmother. I am talking about a month or two into the relationship. Story 27. That my having a relationship with my late husband's family, who have been my family since I was with my late husband for 11 years and have now known them longer than that, was me holding on to my past. Story 28. An ex-friend used to be a pathological liar. She could lie about anything. Once, she lied about a friend's mother telling her mother that she feared her daughter and wanted to kick her out of her house. Story 29. My former friend constantly spoke negatively about her boyfriend. She turned out to be a pathological liar. When I tried to quietly end the friendship, she spoke badly about me to everyone she knew, including all our mutual friends. It honestly ruined my life for several years. Story 30. Ex-best friend. Too long. Didn't read using selflessness as a cover for cult-level social manipulation. It didn't even look like a red flag because it was so well presented as selflessness. He managed a mailing list for friends, organized weekly potlucks and game nights, music jams, cafe nights, and was the go-to voice of reason when members of the group needed advice. But in reality, he was quietly and cleverly employing cult leader tactics in peaceful times so that he could control the friend group and suppress any dissent. Apparently, he specialized in identifying broken people so he could rebuild them in his image as supporters and as the selfless de facto leader of the group. Then he would speak for the group, shaping the narrative. And I really messed up, in his mind, when I asked multiple friends in different networks, not just his, what I needed to do to become a better person. I asked about 12 people that simple question, and almost every piece of advice appeared more than once, except his. So, I went back to about half of them and asked if anyone would support his concerns. Everyone pushed back and wanted to know who said what he said. I kept it anonymous for most, but I did deep dives with a few confidants who had almost no overlap with him. They unanimously agreed that he was manipulative and not truly selfless. I learned to identify when he was being manipulative and tried to offer our friend group an alternative voice. Well, that just put a target on my back. He planted seeds of doubt with our mutual friends that I was generally neurotic. He cherry-picked examples, and with his selflessness credibility, they all thought he was trying to help me when he was actually calling me out in front of them. But I didn't just lie down. I argued the logic of my point of view, not yelling or screaming, mind you, arguing like a court case. It turns out he then planted another seed with our friends. Not only was I neurotic, but I had a persecution complex, he said. So, when I defended myself, he would later point out to them how right he was about me, accusing me of fake manipulations. If I defended my reputation, it was now neurosis level 2. I only learned about this years later. Eventually, I predicted one of his manipulations and called him out publicly. He went on a backstabbing tour. I lost the entire friend group over it. He played them and spun it as even more evidence of my neurosis. He said I was unsafe and should be avoided. And the brainwashed believed him completely. It was only years later when others began to come forward. They started to see him as the manipulator, the abuser, the victimizer in their dealings with him. Some even realized I was the proverbial canary in the coal mine. Soon, a pattern emerged. As victims opened up to me, it seemed that while he was selecting weak followers, he also had boundary issues with women. He would cross the line with unwanted massages. Several of them moved away over the years to get away. He is currently married to someone I consider an oblivious victim. He has learned to leave them with a semblance of themselves and only manipulates them where it matters to maintain his status as the apparent selfless leader. What a terrible person this guy continues to be. Story 31. She no longer wants to have sex after 2 years. Out of nowhere, she revealed that she is very religious, but she continues to party with friends. When her ranch burned down, she confessed to me that she does the same. Story 32. My former best friend always insisted on having things her way. Whether it was plans or negotiating prices, if it was not her idea, there was always an objection. I thought this was a part of every friendship until I began surrounding myself with better people. Story 33. My boy's biological father, I felt intensely drawn to. I still can't explain it. Red flags were his prior felonies and aggravated assaults. Would you believe it? He hit me while I was pregnant. I am now a single mother to twin boys, and he is back in prison. Lack of self-control can take us to some crazy places. Story 34. Dating someone who said they do not miss anyone, are not affectionate, and will not be vulnerable. Lesson learned. Believe what they say. Story 35. Signs that they use people, yet for some reason you rationalize that they would never use you because you are loyal. Then, only to be betrayed, you are left spiraling, asking why this happened to you. Then you realize you were being used the entire time. Story 36. When they said they stopped communicating with friends before and ignored them even when they were concerned, I thought I would be different, but I was being delusional. Story 37. How his dog stopped sleeping next to him on his side, would intentionally sleep on my side, would follow me out to the couch to sleep with me, and constantly lick her private areas for excessively long periods of time. I feel so guilty. It was a complete change in behavior. I understand why veterinarians have high suicide rates. Story 38. 1. Being inconsistent. 2. Saying they are sorry about their behavior but do not change to improve. 3. No clear communication. 4. Goes missing in action for a whole month without warning. Story 39. My ex faked dissociative identity disorder. Because of them, I never trust a soul who tells me that they have it, especially if it is undiagnosed. Story 40. I'm a red flag when it comes to dating, and I think people like that. It's insane how I will literally tell someone I will do something straight to their face, and they act like I'm joking. Like, sir. Then surprise face when I do exactly what I said. Some people claim they want peace, but they subconsciously don't, and I can tell. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.